A little bit about any other jobs you've had, and then I'll kind of transition you into some real estate questions. So what's the Pam Lawrence story?
Well, I'm a coal miner's daughter from West Virginia. That's the truth. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. My early childhood was just a normal 8 kids. My mom never worked, and my dad worked in the coal mines in Mercer County, West Virginia. That's the southern tip of the state. And my dad was killed in a car crash when I turned 16. And so I kind of grew up that night and helped take care of the rest of the family. And but I met my husband in high school. We've been high school sweethearts, and we've been married 52 years.
Go ahead.
So we got married early. I was 17 and he was 19. He was a welder, and then I went to work for the telephone company. I was a switchboard operator for 15 years. And then he took a job teaching welding in Virginia. And where we lived was only like 30 minutes across the state line. So then when he got into teaching, he just worked really good with the high school kids and got real involved. And he was offered a position in Richmond as a technical state director for Skills USA. It was a great promotion for him, but we had to leave all of our family back home. And I said, where in the world is Richmond? Because we'd never been anywhere. So we moved, we have 2 daughters. We moved to Richmond in 1989. And we rented a townhouse over near Hermitage, and that's where our oldest daughter went to high school. And we used to go to Claytor Lake, and my husband's a water skier. He's a barefoot water skier. So now you know how crazy he is. So we looked for a house in Caroline County and moved there, and that's where we live now. And we live on a small baby lake called Lake Caroline. And my husband just retired 2 years ago, and he still barefoot skis. So he's got more of a story to tell than I do.
That's amazing though. So y'all been married 52 years. You're the son of a coal miner's daughter. You're one of 8 kids, and you worked as a switchboard operator before you came down here.
Yes.
That's wild.
I've been in some type of communications, customer service all my life.
Married her high school sweetheart too.
Yeah, which is rare, just so rare nowadays.
Right.
How did hometown come into the picture, Pam? When you got here and you guys moved to Lake Caroline, and your husband got the job that seemed like he was being groomed for a while, how the heck did hometown come into the equation?
Well, it was quite a while after that. When we moved here, I got a job as a police dispatcher in Caroline County Sheriff's Office. And one of the deputies on my shift is actually now the sheriff. He just got that job like a couple months ago. Anyway, I worked there for 2 years, and I have a younger sister that had a gift shop in West Virginia. And she came down to see me, and she says, Pam, this is a great place to open up a craft shop. Do you want to do that? So I talked to some of the people at the sheriff's office, and they said, oh yeah, get out of this business and go do it. So I opened up a Caroline craft shop from 1993 to 98. And I loved it. I got to talk to people, and I had a product that they wanted to buy. So I really wasn't selling Pam, I was selling stuff like a homemade Raggedy Ann doll. But I got to talk to a lot of people, and that because I was really nervous, really shy. And then they came in and put in a red light in front of my store, and the state came in and put me out of business It was called eminent domain.
Mm.
Not that I would ever know what that meant, literally. So then I went and worked a full-time job in Richmond at Wyeth Pharmaceuticals. So went from selling Raggedy Ann dolls to selling drugs, legal
Uh-oh.
drugs, even Preparation H.
Uh-oh.
I worked for them for 6 years, and that was downtown. It was a great job, and I still have friends from there. And then they laid off a lot of people in customer service. I got laid off in 2005. And my husband said then, he says, once you get that real estate license you always talked about. Well, then our oldest daughter was married, and she just had her first grandson. And I didn't really want to go to work. I wanted to keep him. So I kept him for a whole year. But that was, when I look back at it now, that was when the market was crazy. And so I didn't really start my real estate until a year after that, in 2007, right when the market crashed.
Perfect timing.
Right there with you, Pam. Right there with you. And we got licensed in the same year.
But I don't have any regrets. Dean told me, he says, listen, you'll have plenty of time to learn the business, when it, in the market that we're in now. And he was so true. He was right about everything. And I wouldn't take back that year that I kept my grandson. Was precious.
Love that. Love that freedom. So talk to me about your office. Talk to me about your team, just for the benefit of anybody that's on here. If you click on your chat button, you'll see a picture of Pam and her team. That's probably more of a family team than anything, Pam, but tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about the office you work out of, and a little bit about your team.
Well, I didn't. I started in the Ashland office, and one of the agents there, Christine Young, she's no longer with us. She passed away a few years ago. She kind of took me under her wing, and she lived in Caroline too. And the first house I saw was in Brandermill. And when I met her, and she saw all the people that I knew in Caroline, she says, girl, you need to be selling here. You don't need to be going anywhere else. So she was right. And our youngest daughter went to high school here. I worked here, and I had the gift shop, and I really just didn't realize, how many people that I knew. And Dean always told me from day one, he says, you know what you're doing, you just don't have the confidence. And I always wanted to have a partner. So I had, through my 15-year service, I've had 3 partners. And then 3 years in 2018, I don't have any partners. So I'm getting older. So I said, and I've built so much clientele, I need help. So I called my sister in West Virginia. I said, Janice, do you want to come and help me? and Mandy, she has broadcast journalism degree, and she was living in New York. And I said, why don't you come home and help me? And they both did. And so now Mandy's on the team, and she's a professional photographer. She's a stager. And Janice is a go-getter. We're all 3 full-time agents, and we do all of our own paperwork. And that way, when one of us needs to go on a vacation, the other one can step right in and just pick it right up and go on.
Love it. Love that. I love that's family too. So Pam, what's one thing you try to do every day to be successful as a real estate business owner?
I try to help people. I try to do something nice. And I've already done it this morning before we got on this morning.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Pam. What'd you do nice this morning for somebody?
Well, I'm working with 4 ladies, and all 4 of them are widows, recent widows. We're trying to get their house ready to get on the market, so where they can have some equity and they can move on to the next chapter of their lives.
A lot of love in there.
So we are counselors. We're friends. we're handyman, we're just try to, help them any way we can.
Sometimes it's a high five and sometimes it's a handkerchief, right? But
Oh, yes.
you gotta be
Yes.
ready with both of them, or either of them. What's one lesson that you've learned in real estate, in your time, but a lesson, Pam, that you feel like you kind of learned the hard way?
You can't take things personal.
Mm.
When it comes to people and money, that you just cannot take it personal. Things happen and people do things, you just have to go on to the next person. I know when you asked me about why did I choose hometown, this older lady that my husband used to work with her husband, and she was a realtor for 30 some years. She lived in the lake, and she sold her house. And she's the one that told me I need to get my license. So when I passed my test, she took me to the local real estate Century 21 office, because we always dreamed that's where I would work, because it was right across the street from where I lived. So she took me in there to meet the broker, and I was so excited and she was so excited. And so there was a lot of people in the lobby, and she says, well, this is Pam Lawrence, and she just finished her test and she wants to come and work with us. Well, that broker, she was a woman, and she just laid my friend out. She just talked so bad to her, and she made her cry.
Mm.
And I came home and I told my husband, I said, I'm not working there. I won't work at all. So my oldest daughter, found that article. Y'all might have seen it, that article about hometown that was on the front page of the newspaper. And Jill called, she said, Mom, this is where you need to go. This is your people. And I called the Ashland office, and Christine Young answered the phone, and I've never left. And I love hometown. They really saw something in me that I never saw. And I will forever be grateful to them for that.
So, Pam, in an industry where you see, I was talking with an agent Monday, met her at a listing, got her buyer in there, and just kind of talking to her. And she said, I'm on my 5th brokerage in 3 years. And I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because, 5 different firms in 3 years, you can't help but to wonder, has this poor lady not gotten treated well anywhere she's been, and I know a lot of brokerages are just more about the almighty dollar, which of course is important, but I think hometown kind of walks the walk when it comes to the relationship side of things,
Right.
Pam, what's the funniest or craziest thing that's happened to you in real estate? Come on, I know you got something for us.
Oh my goodness. Dean will have to testify for this one. I had a client that was cash buyers from Florida. They were looking for a house with like at least 10 acres, because they wanted to raise exotic animals. And so I found him this cute little house out on Burris Lane. It was, I forgot the price, but it was a little house on 10 acres and had like a little cute little barn, and the house had been renovated. It was so cute. And they bought it, and we went to the closing, and they wanted to take me to lunch after the closing. I said, sure. So we go to this local restaurant here, and the girl's name is Mary, and she says, well, we want you to meet our little friend. So she puts her pocketbook on the table, and out jumps a little monkey. A monkey with a dress and a diaper on.
Like a real monkey?
With a dress and a diaper on.
So I had a picture on my old phone, but I can't find it anymore. But there's a second half to this story, and this is so unbelievable. It has to be true. You cannot make this stuff up. Those same people bought the house, and they lived there for a couple of years, and they called me and said they want to sell their house. They says, we want you to come out and see what we've done. We've remodeled and all this. I went out there, you guys. and that beautiful home was no longer beautiful. They had torn down the barn and put up looked like 100-foot fence, a wire fence. And I had to park the car and walk around the fence, and they met me at the car and they brought me into the house. And the house was rows and rows of cages of monkeys and birds and all kinds of critters. But then the husband, he was chopping raw meat on the counter, on the granite countertops. And he said, "Oh, this is for Czar, the tiger that's in the cage that I didn't see, walking up to the house." So I told him, there's no way we could sell the house. But of course, they wanted to raise the price $100,000 too. So I said, I have to call my broker. And they says, well, we'll walk you back out to the car. Well, they walked me out to the car, guys. And there was this huge tiger. And I mean, it just takes my breath away when I think that I walked past there, going into the house. And I called, I said, you're not going to believe what happened.
Pam, you almost listed the Tiger King's house. Like, that's amazing. During COVID, I watched so many of his shows. It really helped me during COVID, watching that guy's train wreck life.
And when we saw that, I told my husband, I said, that's just like those people. And then I called Dean. He said, no, you're not going to list that one. Forget that one. And somebody else listed it. I think somebody from Fredericksburg, and they sold it for whatever they wanted. And then later on, I saw where those people were arrested. And it was in the newspaper that they were arrested.
Madness. All right, Pam, you might, I gotta give you the trophy so far.
That's going to take the cake.
Yeah, you got them. So far, it's just been borderline naked people stories. Yeah, we're going to give you the podium for now, Pam. That's strong. I will not soon forget that one. So I guess a little bit, and wrapping up here, on a little bit more of a serious front. I don't know much about anything. I just know kind of what I see and how I feel about things. And one thing that I see a lot of your newer agents attempting is to do real estate in the least number of hours possible, which the efficiency side of me loves and respects that. The traditional real estate side of me just screams, hey, that's not always possible. It's not always possible to do everything you want and get everything you want in life financially if you're only willing to work 18 hours a week, But in your opinion, whether this is daily or weekly, how many hours do you think a full-time agent should put in? And then what are 3 things that you think is the best use of that agent's time while they're working?
Well, I'd say you have that hat on all the time. Where you go out in public, you always have your real estate hat on, because we are our own business, but we also represent hometown, and we need our actions and how we act when we go out in public. We are representing all of us, and we always got to be on our good behavior. If we have a magnet on our car, we can't cut anybody off. We need to be nice while we're driving. But I guess I'd say about 50 hours a week. And we are full-time agents. We're not part-time agents. And I had Dean had me get a coach one time, and this coach was Andy Griffith from New York. He coached me for about 6 months, and he big. I mean, we have a small area. There's only one grocery store here. And I know a lot of people when I go to the grocery store. So he told me one time, he says, I want you to go to the grocery store every day, and I want you to buy 1 egg at a time. He just wanted me to go. And then I figured out that that's how he wanted me to get my clients, is just go to the store, just talk and just be yourself, and always have that phone on. I mean, that's our business. Without the phone, we don't have a business. And if you don't have it on, if it goes to voicemail, you call that person right back. And people will say to you, thank you for calling me back, even other realtors. I get business from other realtors because I answer the phone and I work really well with them, and they'll turn around and give me a referral, or I've even had some just give me the whole business because they don't want to come down or come up.
Sure. Pam, I wrote down, and I love your answer. I reflect a lot of it. 40 to 50 has always been, depending on where your business was, a really good range. 50 being, hey, I need to put some extra time in. 40 being like, hey, I need to at least do my job that I would do if I worked somewhere else, you know? I wrote down, you wear the hat all the time. 3 things that you can do is you can be yourself, right? You can be authentic. You can stay accessible. And then you can put yourself in positions to get and earn business, right? Like going to buy an egg, well, 1 egg per day at the grocery store, the egg is just the instrument, right? Like you were putting yourself in a public setting every single day repetitively. People started to know who Pam was, what she stood for. And inevitably, once they know you, especially somebody like you, then they want to work with you. Pam, I'm really grateful for what you've shared with us today. You've got more experience than most of us, you know what I mean? Not just in real estate, but overall life experience, and the fact that every single thing you've done has dealt either with serving your family or with serving the general public. So it's almost like God groomed you to be a realtor a long, long, long time ago.
Well, I appreciate that. I think every job that I had a going away party. You know, I had friends that for a lifetime, and that's the way you got to be. You never know when you're going to need those people again.
That's right. Well said.
We live in a small lake, and before we had our office, we didn't have anywhere to meet. So I would just bring people to my house and take them out on a boat, and take them on a boat ride. And I will tell you, everybody that we have put on their boat for a boat tour are living in the lake.
Slam dunk. That's strong. Thank you, Pam. Thanks for everything today. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for branching out and doing something a little bit different. I've been excited to have you on here for a while. So we'll do the reason we had Dane and Pam on today is because they're going to give us a stark contrast on philosophies, stories, how they run their business, all that good stuff. But both of them are top producers at Hometown. So this in itself is a good second piece to the puzzle. Dane, same thing, man. Dane Gibson, tell us where you're from, where you went to school, a little bit about your family, any other jobs you've had, and then I'll transition you to the real estate side of things.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I feel like Pam just set the bar really high. And so I've got like sentences typed here in front of me, and I'm realizing that like 4 sentences isn't going to quite cut it. But I mean, I was born and raised in Henrico. Never really moved away for too long of a period of time, moved away a few times, but always ended up coming back. Went to Hermitage High School. I was class of 2011. So do with that what you will. And actually right after high school, I joined the military, active duty Army. I went in as field artillery. And I think I joined when I was about 19. So went in as field artillery. My first duty station was South Korea. And in South Korea, I was part of the 2nd Infantry Division. We were what was called the QRF, which is the Quick Reaction Force. So if North Korea were to attack, it was our job to hold the line until everybody in South Korea could advance or retreat further down south to a safer position.
Wow.
So that was a big chunk of my life. That was a year in a foreign country there.
That's crazy. I didn't know that you guys were essentially frontline support if anything popped off.
Yeah, there was a little bit of extra responsibility on our shoulders for a year than some of the other people had. But it instilled a lot of discipline. It instilled a very, very strong work ethic and a sense of camaraderie that a lot of people really didn't get. After Korea, it was 2 years in Texas, and that was more of stateside is very different than than overseas. 2 years in Texas. Texas kind of became like a second home to me. I don't know if anybody has been to Texas, visited Texas, lived in Texas, but it truly is its own country, kind of within the country of the U.S. And so that was a good chunk of my life for 3 years. And then after that, I jumped around a little bit from job to job, trying to find my place, trying to find what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. I worked for a while in a suit shop, sold suits, did sales there, kind of managed it for them. It was a very small mom and pop, locally owned place. And I kind of was their only employee. So I kind of ran a suit shop for a while, and that helped me be able to talk to people, be able to understand that no two person are the exact same, and really kind of got me in front of people and helped me understand how to maneuver those types of situations. I did do something after the suit shop. So I worked for the suit shop for a while. Then I did UPS. In between those two things, I actually had an extremely powerful journey on the Camino de Santiago. If you haven't heard of that, it is a pilgrimage hike, and it starts on the east coast of the border of France and Spain, on the east of Spain's country, the country of Spain. And then you walk all the way about 500 miles to the west coast of Spain, to the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
So that took me 40 days where I really didn't have anything except what was on my back.
That's wild.
And you can imagine, you find yourself out there. You learn who you are, who you're not, and it was a very enlightening experience. After that came UPS, and I was the guy who was loading the trucks in the morning, and that was started very, very early. It kind of messes with your sleep schedule a little bit. And after about 2 months at UPS, they moved me up to management, and I stayed there for a little while. But kind of determined that waking up at 3 a.m. and getting off at 11 a.m. probably wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I've always had the goal of owning rental properties. Everybody likes the word passive income, and I figured rental properties is a good, stable way of making that happen. And that sort of led to the fruition of my real estate career.
That's a strong story, brother. Again, like you said, the camaraderie, the parts of the camaraderie of the Army, the discipline, running a suit shop, not only serving the public, but at some points probably wearing a lot of different hats. I imagine being the only employee and them not being around. But then like even at the ground floor, right? Like with UPS, not only were you a loader, which and I hope you don't take any offense to this, I imagine that's kind of like more of a sorter loader, like entry level job with them, but within 2 months, your management with UPS, but you had the hindsight to say, hey, 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. is not where I want to hang my hat. Like you said, for the rest of your life, that in itself, I mean, you combine that with your pilgrimage hike, you can see where some of that's groomed you to be who you are today. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, it 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. will mess with your sleep cycle, which in turn messes with your mental health. So yeah, mental health is important. Yeah,
like poor sleep starts messing with that central nervous system, man. That's not what you want. So what basic stuff, man. What office are you out of? Why'd you choose hometown? That kind of stuff.
Well, out of the Twin Hickory office. And I don't know if Larry, if you heard of this, but I'm actually part of the Sanders Group. And the way that I got connected with hometown. So my father's actually a smaller local builder, and who is active more pre 2008, 2007, 2008. And he had built some homes in the neighborhood called Cedar Lee. And he actually ended up building a home for a guy whose name is Larry Sanders. And they had maintained that connection throughout the years. I mean, I couldn't, you would know when that was, how long ago that was, far more than I would. But my father and you maintained that connection. He loved you. He swore by the way that you did real estate. And when he heard that was something that I wanted to dive into, he said, well, Dane, I've got just the guy for you. And here we are 4 years later.
I love your dad. I love you too. And he builds a good house. That, now that I think about it, dude, that was probably like 9, 10 years ago.
Yeah, time is a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, and now he's, your dad's a coach of the same football organization that I coach my kids in, but like he didn't have a kid playing, like I don't know, just a good dude. And he made a good dude. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts, Dane. What's one thing you try to do? Lord knows I know all these answers already, but what's one thing you try to do every day to be successful as a real estate business owner?
I would say most days. Now, there are times when I'm less than perfect or fall short on all of my goals, but most days I try to get up early, and I try to get into the gym. And instead of saying I try to get into the gym, well, that's what I personally do. I try to get up early and I try to sweat. And I like to do that before I get into the office. And that does a number of things for me, man. It's a mentality more than anything else. Nothing about the day changes. The day is going to be what the day is going to be. It doesn't really matter what time I get up. But when I get up early and I exercise before I go into the office, or when I'm done with my workout before most people are even getting up, it makes you feel like you have control of the day and the day does not have control of you. I don't feel like I'm battling everything that comes my way. It feels like I get to knock out some of the menial tasks before the day even starts, so that when the day does start, I have time for what truly matters, which is lead generation. So I would say the strongest thing that has helped me in my career so far is getting up early, exercising before the workday begins.
So obviously I am in total agreement with you there. But for completely different reasons. Like as a husband and dad, I got to a point where I was staying up late because there was a little bit of time I wanted to get for myself. So whether I'm watching TV or reading a book, whether I'm doing something good with my time or not, I'm positioning myself in a poor way for the next day. Then that shift of mindset happens where you're like, hey, getting up early sucks, but let me see what it does for me. The thing about getting a sweat in, as you were talking, Dane, that comes to my mind is so many of us are optimistic about what we'll do as a day goes on. But statistically, if you track the rest of that story, that's kind of where excuses come in. Making it to the gym at 4:30 or 5:30 for a teenager or maybe a young 20-something, that might not be that hard. But as work responsibilities increase, as family sizes increase and stuff like that, it does get to a point where sometimes it seems like the only way to get that done is to suck it up and get up in the morning. I think there's also something to be said for getting up and doing something hard and kind of putting a stamp on your day that way. That's strong, man.
Well, you're right, Larry. And in all honesty, I mean, it's not necessarily fun. I don't necessarily like getting up at 5 a.m., but I do like the way that it makes me feel afterwards. And I do like the control that I feel I have over the day versus battling everything that comes my way.
Love it. Love it. What's one lesson you've learned in real estate, Dane, but you feel like you might have learned it the hard way?
Well, I'm still learning this one. And it's probably going to sound a little bit tacky, but if you let off of the gas, you are going to slow down. Real estate is one of those things where you get some momentum and you're pending deals, you're closing deals, and you have a little bit of income. And then you feel comfortable. You can kind of sit there and you got your money coming in, you got the activity that you're looking for, and you do get very comfortable. And you're like, man, this is good. This is nice. I get to relax a little bit. All that hard work is actually paying off. But as we all know, that real estate, nothing happens in the immediate. If you let off today, the effects are not going to be seen next week, 2 weeks, next month. The effects of letting off of the gas are going to be seen 3 months down the road, if not further. So I think that I have fallen prey to this a couple of times where I've gotten comfortable. I've let off of the gas and I've been happy in the moment. And then 3 months down the road, I've really wished that I had not let off of that gas.
That's strong. Dude, I can't, first off, like, thank you for putting that out there, right? Because I'm a Petersburg High School graduate, so I probably don't know very much, especially not as much as I think I know in my mind. But if I had to put a stat on it, I would say 7 out of 10 agents, they hit that slide. They take that foot off the gas pedal. Now, you said maybe you take your foot off the gas pedal. I think sometimes we get really busy in that job, busy in the trenches, busy with the deal stuff, and our energy wanes, and we feel like we don't have enough left over to find the new lead gen. When you were talking, Dane, one thing that came to mind was cruise control. Cruise control for a vehicle can be used 2 different ways. You can use cruise control like my granny. My granny was my favorite, but my granny was convinced that if you went the speed limit, within 60 seconds, you were getting a ticket. Like, if you went 25 miles an hour and that was the speed limit, you're getting a ticket. So Granny was notorious for going 10 to 15 under the speed limit. And she'd throw cruise control on for that, which would make me miserable. I'm more of I'm like a 7 to 9 miles per hour over the speed limit on cruise control. Do I want to get a ticket? No. But do I know that I can go faster safely than Granny? Heck yeah, man. So, I ride with her, no radio, slow as can be. But when I get in the car, man, I'm cranking that thing up a little bit. So you can, to use Dane's phrase, right, you can keep your foot on the pedal, but that doesn't mean you have to have it floored all the time.
Mm-mm.
It also means you can't just put your toe on it. You need to put your damn foot on the pedal, not your toe. But it's okay to set cruise control, right? Once you have discipline like Dane has, once you have systems like Dane has, then maybe 7 miles per hour over the speed limit's okay. Nobody's getting in trouble, but we're also not leaving anything on the table. That might be corny, but it's just kind of what came to mind as you were talking, man, that if you let off the gas, you are going to slow down. I dig it. It's kind of like nothing changes if nothing changes.
Nothing changes if nothing changes. I forgot about that. Yep.
All right, flip the script, man. What's the funniest or craziest thing that's happened to you in real estate so far?
Well, I've never experienced a tiger at any of my listings. I had a guy once, and it was towards the beginning of my 4 years in real estate, and he was recently divorced. And for him, this was a very exciting time of his life. And he bought something that he had always wanted to buy, something that the ex had never allowed him to buy. And that was a very large, very heavy, very expensive pool table. So I had a guy who was living in a rental, recently divorced, with this brand new pool table that he has always wanted. Of course, the pool table did not fit into the rental. So he actually had a storage unit just for that pool table. And I met him at an open house, built a relationship with him, and started searching, started hitting the streets, started getting him, into houses. But the houses that he wanted to view, he was purchasing a house around this pool table. So every house that we went into, it had to have a room that was big enough. It had to have a room that was tall enough. The house had to be built around a pool table. And builders don't do that. That's not how houses are built. So you can imagine that we had a very hard time finding him a home. We actually didn't find him a home. And I believe to this day, he is still in that same rental, and that pool table is still sitting inside of his storage unit.
The crosses we pick to die on, you know what I mean? Like, I guess not taking his side at all, but thinking about him, the nose to, can I get a pool table? Can I get a pool table? Must have worn him down to the point where he's like, look, I am blind to anything else in life except this pool table. Maybe one day he'll get to play pool on that pool table, Dane. But, until then, the saga continues.
And he may invite his buddies over to that storage unit on Friday nights. I don't know, but maybe he'll get a house for it one day.
The same authorities are going to come to arrest him for doing that came to arrest the Tiger King on Pam's property. So hopefully these guys are still in business. All right, so let's wrap up here. How many hours? Again, remember, like it can be daily, it can be weekly. That's okay there. It's more just clarifying and then talking about the three best things, in your opinion, that an agent can do with the hours put in. So we're talking full-time agent. How many hours should they put in? And what are the three best things they can do with that time?
I think that full-time agent, if you are efficient with your time, I think a 40-hour work week can be sufficient. I think it's hard to measure exactly, as we all know, because they're, like Pam said, you're always wearing the hats. You're always on, taking phone calls, meeting people for coffees, showing houses. And so it's hard to measure the time perfectly. I think if you're efficient with your time, you can do it in 40 hours a week. But I think that 4 hours of each day need to be in the office trying to generate leads. And I think that's phone calls. I think that's writing notes. I think that's planning events, pop buys, something that is going to put lead generation at the top of your list. So that's 4 hours every day in the office. And then after that, you're showing houses. And kind of all over the place here, but so you got the 40 hours there. And then the three top things that I think you can be doing with your real estate career or with your time, the three things are lead generation activities, deepening relationships that already exist, and then building relationships, new relationships with the right people. So you got those 4 hours in the morning in the office, and then all of your time after that needs to be either deepening relationships or building new relationships, whether it's having coffees with people, showing houses, hosting events, hosting seminars, whatever it may be. I think the goal needs to be to deepen or create relationships.
Strong. I love that, man. So I wrote, hey, if we give this a 40-hour week, which again, like reminders to anybody that's watching, if you get most jobs out there, 40 is probably the minimum of what you're going to work. My wife's an educator. I think she's supposed to work less than a 40-hour work week. And believe me, she works way more than 40 hours and doesn't get a dime for it, So 40 hours, if you do what I wrote down as Dane was talking, lead generation, deepening current relationships, and after that, building new relationships, I call that A+ activity. So 4 hours of your day spent doing A+ activity typically gives you something to do with the other 4. My favorite
Absolutely.
philosophy is if the first 4 give me something for the next 4, that's awesome. But if not, that might just be God's way of telling me, hey, go get a workout in, go meet a friend, take this afternoon off, be with the boys or something like that, right? But the beginning of that day tells the story for the end of the day. And if you're not putting the first 4 in and all of that A+ activity is absent, you'll probably feel pretty reactive as an agent. I mean, what do you think, Dane?
I agree with that completely. And there's something that I always try to keep front of mind, Larry. And we have talked about this before. And I it's something that I have to remind myself daily. You can control your actions. You cannot control the results. You can control the 4 hours in the office and what you do in those 4 hours, but you can't control what happens after that to an extent. So, but as long as you're having the right conversations with the right people and saying the right things, then I think the other 4 hours of the day are going to take care of themselves, but that will not exist if you're not doing the right thing for the first 4 hours.
Well said. Well said. But both of you guys were amazing today. And I'm a notes nerd, but I've got a page of notes, just one-liners that y'all gave. And that's kind of why we came up with it. It's a little bit of a different type of class. It's a little bit maybe more like feelings and opinions than X's and O's. But I think in addition to the X's and O's that we give a lot of hometown agents, they need to be hearing this stuff too, like these authentic stories, so that when they have a crap day, they realize, like, look, I didn't go to a house that has 90 boxes of monkeys and a daggone tiger in the yard today. I didn't do that, like I had a rough day, but maybe the reason I had a rough day, like Dane said, is because I kind of just got to the office and I don't know, I moped around. I kind of complained about the market and rates a little bit. and I can't really think of what I did for my business today. So instead of that, like Dane said, get to that office, be intentional with people like Pam is, build those relationships like they both do. And you'll find that everything you need will almost be taken care of for you. Dane is proof of that. Pam is certainly proof of that. And Lord knows I am. But if we keep doing the right things and we keep trying to build relationships while we meet new people, in this business, a lot will be provided for you. But like our two esteemed guests today said, if you don't put the time in, there's no guessing what you'll get out. But if you put the right efforts and the right amount of time in, oh man, there's no ceiling to what you can do. Thank you both. Any final words of advice or anything like that before we bust a move out of here?
Thank you for having me. And I see I just cut you off, Pam. I'm sorry about that. But thank you for having me on here, Larry. And I just say surround yourself with the right people. If you are who you surround yourself with. And if you are not surrounded by the right people, then you're going to go in the path of whoever you are surrounded by. And I'm fortunate enough to have some very, very good, hardworking, disciplined people around me.
Let's go. Well, how about you, Miss Pam?
I'd say for any new agents out there or anybody, you should always smile. And I always remember all the sales meetings we went to with Mike Chenault and Dean and Todd and everybody. They know what they're talking about. I mean, you should be upbeat, excited, even though the news is talking negative about the rates and the market and all that stuff. The market is still good. It's still great. You just got to get out there and get it. But it's how we tell people about it when there's what about the rates? It's so woe is me, and negative sales, and that's what people are gravitating towards. But it's how you present yourself. Say, no, the market's good. We've got this going on. Even when I had my store, I learned something real important. Said, even if you don't have a dime in your crash drawer, you make it sound like you've got $1,000 in there. It's all,
right.
It's the same way with real estate.
Well, what you get out is what you put in, and I think if you frown, you're attracting one kind of energy and one kind of person. If you smile, you're doing the opposite. And I guess the last thing I'll say before we get out of here is when it comes to the news, even sometimes social media, you got to remember the best of the best are doing their job. They're creating stories. They're creating maybe drama. They're creating some good stories too. I like to look at the good news movement every day. So let them do their job. But if we're doing our jobs, which is finding people that need to buy and sell houses and serve them, then the media doesn't have a whole lot to do with us. They're just doing their job and we're just doing ours. So I love that advice, Pam. As bad as it sounds, I journal about it every day. I think a key part of every day is laughing and smiling. But if you spend too much time in your fields, that day might get by and you might realize that you didn't do either of them. So above all, take Pam's advice and put a smile on that face. Go sell something. Also, the market's good. Dane got a hat trick last week. So let's go, baby. Keep selling.
Good week. Good week.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you,
Y'all take
Larry.
care.